Hello.
It's working.
It is?
Yeah,
It's not
perfect.
delayed or anything?
It's a teensy bit delayed.
But you can hear me and
I
everything?
can hear you perfect.
Okay, good.
Awesome.
Thanks.
It depends on whatever it is.
Yeah, I know. It was get assassinated.
Yeah, except they died, so that's fine.
Space for anything.
What percent?
So things on the side. This is fun.
It's a table for you, and I have this up right here. Let me find out if we're having another staff member, if not, we can put it up here.
Okay.
Controlling this. Oh, we got notepads?
Were they supposed to be outside?
They can be bigger, but that's fine. That's still a good size. Yeah, that's pretty much the setup for this.
So we'll determine whether or not we have another.
Yeah, so basically, yeah, but basically, if it turns out we don't, so directives right here, and like the instructions and
And
stuff.
this is for like this.
Yeah.
Is this for us to do like speakers list? Well, it's
We
not
don't
like-
do speakers list.
Yeah, I know, but like I'm talking about like from moderated copies when we pick the people in order before.
You don't pick an order before moderate copies.
Thank you.
Oh, yeah.
And same one.
In this you don't. You
Okay.
pick on them as they're called.
I'm saying like at least in the one I've been here before you like pick the moderated copies beforehand, like.
No, well, sometimes you can, every moderate copy I've ever done, you pick as they raise right now.
Okay.
I mean, I think I said it in the thing, like, it's basically perpetual moderated copies, 30-second speaking time, unless they decide to do something else. But as far as, no speakers list.
Yeah, I know. That's not what that says.
Okay, no, you mean like picking a few people at a time?
Yeah.
Okay,
That's it.
you guys can do that if you want.
Yeah.
Like, that's completely fine, just speaker system. And I'll come in periodically and pull up the updates and pictures and stuff. And I'll be constantly updating that as they do things.
We just need to
I drug this chair right here, basically I just put it on the chair. I can explain it. I'm gonna wait until, because it's not quite time yet.
No, we have to, but when you.
Yeah, when I come in, I'll explain that. Yeah.
Do you have to hear the staff? Do
So,
you have to hear the big staff meeting now?
maybe.
We haven't.
Also, side note, if like you don't want to see anything, you can just press like PCR.
And then breath.
Oh wait, no, wait.
Yeah, that didn't work. Would it be?
Do laptop and then temperature too. And then
But it's over there now.
yeah, we're not using that one. So basically, if you ever want to put it back up, PC, then that does that. And then if you want it down, laptop, and then you press that. And we can explain that to the staff if they want. Yeah. It shows up in both episodes right there. All right. Cool. I'm gonna check out B.
Do we have? I think that's good.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. That's fine. That's what you should consider an issue. That way, it basically gives him like a full church description. But I'm not giving it to he basically just took control of Congress and Supreme Court, and anything we wanted to make them listen to, like, the elaborate. That's kind of like, that's kind of imagine now that have like full blown. Yeah, yeah, I wrote on them. I didn't write it, but I know, like, I saw it. Yeah. Like, we were before, it was just them, but we were definitely, like, really with no hope for anybody other than our way. Yeah. And Rashid was like, all the resolutions and everything that's ever passed in Congress that's made sense. No. The Supreme Court is all that, like, it's just string around. It was so aggravating. I mean, I like him because at least, like, you know, he was trying to get us to push everything away. But, like, I would hate to be in the room this year. I just know that it would be, like, so stressful. He was going to be in something. He didn't come. They didn't come. I don't know. They don't push up. Wait, so he went over this year? It's going to be schemes. I mean, she did during all the crises. Yeah, I think so. It just functions like a lottery Caucus route. Yeah, like a yes, yes. Yeah, well, no. Okay, yes. Yeah, so that's probably how I just think that that's, I would make the most sense. Yeah, before it'd be like anything that. But regardless, I can't, see, I ain't doing it. I mean, I can do a lot, but I can't declare. I don't have control of the money either. Do you know how to do this? So this is going to be so like you yeah, so
But that helps to raise the top.
obviously. He's a big drug. I don't think discovered that she was doing something like to everyone. A lot, actually. So search like anything that you're looking at basically goes through basically in the 50s and up until 64. Anything that you're looking at was like any big new legislation or he was a part of it. So a lot of it, but like not necessarily like he has. Goldberg has more power, not necessarily because of the position he's in. It's just so it's like he bring power to the position rather than getting power. He served as the general counsel for the AFL and CLO for a long time. He also served as general counsel for. He also served. He also helped create like a lot of the labor union plans. So.
Resolutions.
Basically, everybody is like a big corporate guy. I mean, that just has a circulation. Steel production, economy production. It's just basically like that's like the 60s and 50s. All that. Yeah, basically.
This was kind of like crisis management. They were doing contracts for Caucus. I think so.
We'll find out in like 30 minutes, I guess, 20 minutes, I guess. I say we go to war with Russia.
Yeah. Let's just start us off with a good old civil action.
Let's take out the Cold War. Yeah. Better for economy than war.
This was to World War III. Not now.
No, but really, every single time the U.S. has had a economic
I'm supposed to. Are they
benefit,
supposed
like a
to
really
present
good
ourselves because they were supposed to like tell them a lot of stuff, or just basically say what your name means, what you are, and
Yeah, it's like I think from what I understand, it's like you get up there and you're like, hey, I'm insert whatever you are here. I do insert whatever you want, whatever you do here, and then I want to insert whatever you want to do here. I don't know, man. We can talk.
I'm just gonna sound like generic, like some of like CI director, I'm just gonna see what I think. Say that's good.
That don't exist yet.
He's not.
But
Everyone is
he hates communism, so.
It seems like there's a lot of
And like that, her just like, guys, go down. We have to remember that everybody is the same.
It's all about.
Stevenson.
So the Cuban Missile Crisis happened in 1961.
It happened in October 1961.
Okay, yeah.
So technically afterwards, it's after, we don't start.
I guess.
So, Ross, this is your station. So essentially, I've got
Yeah,
pulled
so
up
we-
the Google Doc where we're doing the directives. So essentially, when they hand you, they'll send the directives up to the chair and they'll make sure like they have enough signatories and all that stuff. Then they'll hand it to you and you'll type it up. And you'll do the title, basically what the directive says, and then sponsors and signatories. And they'll basically stay up there. And then when they vote on it, if they pass it, then basically highlight the directive and make it green. And if they don't, then red. That's pretty much it. And also, I'm going to be coming in here periodically to do the updates. And so I'll come over here and they're in these two folders. So I can do that. But other than that, pretty much just, whatever else.
All right, sounds good.
Great.
Did he tell you how to put it on the screen if you need it off?
Oh, yeah.
I'll show him.
Okay.
We just don't need it. You can show for some reason. We can just press laptop and then. Yes. And then,
That's not. No.
You're gonna need to get ahead of this. There we go. Perfect. All right. Are you guys pretty much good until?
yeah, but.
Yeah, we gotta wait till 3.
Yeah.
Okay. I'll be on for meeting if you guys
Okay.
need anything. Oh yeah, also, we wanted to tell you guys, so we're trying something new with the sort of being able to monitor the committee from the crisis room. And so we actually have a webcam right there that's streaming into the crisis room that we just started. And
So other,
The NSA has been.
so other people can see us.
just us in the crisis room.
It's in a one-way mirror,
Yeah, it's one way.
Wait.
Yeah.
and they can hear you too.
Cool.
Yeah, so it's basically to see like if you guys are really close to like passing a directive or something to say this, then we'll be able to, before you guys vote on it, be able to kind of come up with basically a response from crisis. And so that way, there won't be sort of a delay time between you guys passing something and us coming up with, something to respond to it. It'll just be almost instant that as soon as you guys do something, we'll have a response from crisis. So, I mean, do you guys like the idea? Because like, if there's any opposition to it, we can, not do it.
I like
that's
it.
kind of
Cool.
fun.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I like it. It's basically like sheer.
Let's try it.
Okay, yeah. I mean, we don't want to like invade privacy or anything. It's a really useful way for, privacy. Huh? Yeah. All right, well, great. We just wanted to let you guys know about that, probably for some legal reasons, I guess. I don't know. But yeah, and so we'll be starting in about 15 minutes. So talk amongst yourself, have fun. I'll be back in a bit. Also, you can talk to your chairs, co-chairs, staff, and make friends with them.
Hi.
First question.
What?
Robert is. He's gonna come back and like introduce himself and stuff.
Yeah.
But I want to ask you guys, do you like how the room is laid out right now? We could
Can
do like something like
half
a circle.
circle?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Okay.
Circles off.
As long as I'm here.
Well, you guys can.
Can we do that?
Yeah.
Absolutely. Let's go.
You want this to be like?
Oh.
There's an unoccupied desk in the way. You can just like push it towards the back to make room for yourself.
Do we need like a double circle so like people can get like on the outside, like having an angle? So
Yeah, where do you want us to speak from also? That
We can
probably
do it
matters.
here.
Why speaking in your chair?
Want to speak from a chair? Okay.
raise yours.
That makes sense.
We could do like a double row.
I think we got it.
There might be
And you
more
can
people
also
coming.
like move the chairs that are like in the way over. Yeah,
We have to go outside.
just make it wide enough so
You
everyone
can
can.
pull it further out if you want.
Yes, you don't have to pull it up, you just scoot it down. Make room.
I guess
Scoot it down this way. Yeah, that's good.
I think we can see.
How many people are supposed to be here? 19?
What?
It's like 20 people in here?
I don't know. Closer to 30 something, so we might need to like double it.
Okay, do you want to just make a row?
Is there a still markers? Sorry.
Like a use for here.
I mean, you can move, honestly, like all the accessories are already made.
We can like throw stuff in the middle. Does everybody have a chair in the circle?
We can do like a double row.
I mean, we already did this, it just, if you know, if you like.
Well, they're not able to see this.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Just a test to see how.
Yeah, they're looking at you.
Yeah, there are.
They actually are, but not about this.
Let's move those chairs that side so we can widen the circle.
Well, we'll just do a double row. It's gonna end up.
So just scoot in a little bit.
Huh? Like scoot this forward?
And then y'all.
We're all gonna be like, right?
I think,
If you're good where you're at right now, then just. Yeah.
Oh, we don't really need this.
Okay, yeah, and then you can be moving.
Did all of you guys prepare a little opening speech?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. If you didn't, just take a couple minutes to like jot down the outline now.
Are you gonna go over like how it's?
Yeah. So Ross, I didn't mean to. Ross is passing around some notepads. Robert, the crisis director, is going to come back in here and explain what we're doing with those.
They're like frozen.
But basically, it's a new method. If you've ever been in a crisis committee, we usually write notes to crisis staff. But this time, in order to keep things more organized, we're just giving each of you a notepad. So if you'll write your position on the top of the notepad, and then make sure that's always on there, and then Robert's gonna explain more about it, but just do that for now.
So position on.
Everyone got one?
Stop.
Or no?
On position on the top of the notepad, you just draw,
Oh, what?
Robert will explain.
Your name.
just like your, yeah.
I know, it's just.
Oh, position, like not
I don't.
job, like not like opinions.
Same line.
Like
Yeah.
secretary,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I'm used to not being in a crisis.
Okay,
So,
well, yes.
Robert will come in.
I wrote mine.
Yeah.
I am striking out.
Okay. This is like y'all's surprise. Water pictures are coming.
Okay. Everyone say hi to Brandon.
Hi, Brandon. Hi. Brandon, you're awesome. Wait, don't need anything. Okay, let us know.
Is there one inside? No.
There's like a power strip that's like right inside this.
Can you,
Guys,
or is it like this?
it's like
All of it.
Hard to do. Because I don't know. Like, no, I don't think we can. More than he's not a nice person. I don't think nobody knows much.
yeah. We got it.
I'm the one who called and told him about the kid. About
Well, I figured we'd go ahead and do the introduction, and then by the time we're done with that, sort of like how the crisis works and stuff,
I mean,
Do you think everyone's here?
I think everyone's.
There's some.
Is
It's
that
only
your-
your turn.
Oh. $18, we have 2 missing, so that works out perfect. So everyone's here. So I guess to go ahead and start, hi, welcome to Almond Kennedy Crisis. My name is Robert Hanna. I'll be your crisis director this weekend. And a little bit about me. I'm a senior majoring in econ and finance, and I'm also the vice president of the International Relations Club that puts this on. You want to start, Ross, and then we just work our way down?
All right. Everyone, I'm Ross Mulcairn. I am a sophomore majoring in economics, and I am a member of the International Relations Club.
I'm Casey Delker. I'm a junior, and I'm a marketing teacher.
I'm Whitney Cravens. I'm your co-chair. I'm a freshman. I've been doing Model UN for 3 years now, and I'm majoring in business management, political science, and econ.
I'm Beatrice Keeley. I'm a freshman here, and I'm studying chemical engineering and Spanish.
I'm Rob Donnelly. I'm also a freshman, and I'm majoring in international studies and econ.
I'm Lindsay. I'm also a freshman, and I'm majoring in business.
All right. And so to start this off, just a show of hands, how many of you have done a crisis committee before? Okay, so a few of you. So crisis is a bit different, quite a bit different from regular Model United Nations, that rather than portraying a country, you're portraying a person. And additionally, instead of resolutions, you do directives. And the nice thing about directives is they don't have to have all that pomp and circumstance, preambulatory clauses, action clauses, all of those things. You basically write what you want the committee to do and get the signatories. If it passes, it happens. Or you can also do press releases in pretty much the same fashion. And another interesting thing about crisis is portfolio powers. Essentially, each one of you, as your character, as your background, has certain powers with your position that you can basically act independently of the committee. And so the way that works is you were given a second notepad earlier, and we're trying a new system this year called a Notepad system, which we actually picked up when we were in St. Louis for a conference a few weeks ago. And essentially the way it works is rather than in a usual crisis where you take the piece of paper, write down your note to crisis, tear it off, and sort of put it in a folder and let it, send it off to the crisis room. The way this works is you write down your note on the pad, but you don't tear it off. Instead, once you've written your note, you place it, we actually put a chair right there, and you put the entire pad on the chair, and then crisis will respond on the pad. And so basically the reason for doing that is it helps us keep track of what you're doing as far as, all your plans, the different things coming together. And it also helps you keep track of what you're doing so that, you don't accidentally, forget something you did a long time ago. You can always, we or you can refer back to the notepad at any time to make sure everything's in order, no notes getting lost, anything like that. And you can write multiple notes at once before you send it up, because one issue we ran into at WooMonk was that once we were reluctant to give up our notepad, because if something major in crisis happened, we wouldn't have it to write a crisis note. And so to remedy that, basically, we prefer that you use the notepad, but if you've already given up your notepad and you really need to get a crisis note in, then you can just use your Almond notepad and write a note to that, fold it up, address the crisis, and put it on the chair, and make sure you put your position name on it, and we'll still take that. We don't want to limit you just because you gave up your notepad at the wrong time. And besides that, also in crisis, you can pass notes to each other, basically address them, sign them, and then pass it along. And that way you guys can communicate with each other in committee. and be able to, coordinate plans, know what other people are thinking, maybe do a bit of backroom dealing, all the fun stuff that Crisis entails. So Crisis is definitely supposed to be a really, really fun, really, really fluid committee. And in addition to that, the actual Crisis, so we'll be giving you updates, like different Crisis events about what's happening. And it'll be your guys' job as the president's cabinet to basically try to resolve those, do something to help that or solve it in terms of a directive. And so once you have written up a directive and gotten the appropriate number of sponsors or signatories, which you guys will figure out once you take roll, it'll be submitted to the DICE. And once they see that you have enough people sign on to it, it'll be passed up to Ross and he'll type it up here. And once that's typed up, then there could be multiple directives on the floor at the same time, and then you guys can vote on them. And if they're voted yes, then basically it'll be highlighted green. We'll know it's passed, and we'll try to respond to it. And so, like, if you guys decide to pass something doing this, then Crisis, it's fluid. Something will happen as a reaction to what you did. And so it's not like General Assembly where you pass a resolution and there's nothing afterwards. This actually, your actions do have consequences. Sometimes they're good, sometimes they're bad, but every action you take is going to affect the end game of Crisis. So am I forgetting anything?
Does anyone have any questions?
Yeah, any questions?
Motions, just like in general.
I think we'll talk about this, right?
Yeah, you guys can go over those.
And Robert, do you mind if we move the chair over, like, right?
Yeah, that's a good idea because it's sort of out of the way.
As directives, do you have like basically like the office?
Yeah,
Just like
for this, you need at least one of each signatories and sponsors, and I think it's a fifth of the committee total needs to be in order to pass a directive. Like,
Yes.
in order to introduce a directive, 1/5 of the committee at the time.
And so you guys will take care of all that once roll's done. So we'll know about all that once I'm out of it. All right, and so, oh, wait, yes.
Are we just passing our notepads down, or do we have to like get up to put it on the chair?
Oh, that's a good question. Since,
I'd say if they pass them to face down.
yeah, if you pass them, do them face down. Don't look at other people's notepads. That's not cool.
Or you can also get up.
Or you can get up if you want. If you really don't want something seen.
I think you can also just like raise your notepad or something and I'll
Yeah.
come and get it.
Yeah, that's good. Like, yeah, you can collect them, like if they raise it up and just, well, if that's the case, then we might want to, yeah. We'll figure
I'm
it out.
fine doing the
Okay.
walking. Right. Handle it. I
All right,
promise.
yes.
When I went to WashU, actually, they did this. So what they did was, the first page, you don't write any notes on it. It's just your position. And that way you just like write all your notes on the second page. So when you pass it down, it's just.
Okay, that's actually a good idea. When we went to WashU, they did tell us to do that, but that is actually a very good idea. So so if you guys want to do that, you don't want your notes read, I just write your position just on the front and then do all the notes in the following. Thank you for that idea. Yes.
the notes are for portfolio hours, is that the main thing?
The notes, so there are portfolio powers as in what you want to do with your position, but you can also like try to communicate with pretty much anyone. Like if you want to try to communicate with anyone in the outside world, outside of this committee individually, then you can write a letter to someone or, request to speak with someone, and Crisis will essentially act as that outside actor and respond to you.
How like prevalent will the president be? Like, what is he?
So the president is going to be, he's basically investing a lot of power in Congress. He's deferring a lot of power, he's to the cabinet. He's deferring a lot of power to the cabinet so that he trusts you guys. He believes that a ruler is only as good as his advisors. And he's basically, whatever you guys say you advise him to do as a group, within a reason, he'll go along with it. And so essentially, you guys are making very, very strong recommendations to what the president should do. Yes.
You guys also act as like the Congress and Supreme Court and things like
Yes.
that.
Everything that's not in this committee, Crisis is.
And also, like, if you're the Secretary of State, you're like bureaus too, like anyone that's underneath you, crisis will be.
Yes, exactly.
And you said everything that is not in here, you are, so does that mean like if we want to communicate to another member of the United Nations, we go through you?
Yes.
Make sure.
Yeah, basically anything that is in this committee, it's asked for crisis. All right, and so with that, I guess we'll let you guys go ahead and do roll, and we'll send us a message when you guys are close to finish roll, and we'll come in with the first crisis update.
Okay.
All right, great. Have fun, guys.
Are there any more questions about committee in general, or
So, are we gonna be like in a moderated caucus the whole, like, how are we doing?
that will be our default? Yeah.
Okay, so default is moderated caucus.
It's, yeah, perpetual moderated caucus, unless you motion otherwise.
So we can motion for like unmods and.
Yeah, but you will motion for like specific moderated caucuses, so if you want to talk about, I don't know, some specific topic, then you motion for a specific amount of time and speeches for that. So anytime you motion for a moderated caucus, make sure you say a specific topic, the number of speeches and the speaking time.
How are you gonna select people in the moderated caucus?
We'll just do it after each speaker. If you want to speak, raise your placard. We'll do it like that, and if we
like, it's an issue that like is directly involved with like a lot of people here, can they automatically be added to it? Just in case.
that'll be taken into consideration when we're deciding who should speak next. Yeah. Any other questions? And also, just a quick thing about technology, we're going to be on our phones because we have a group me with the crisis staff, but other than that, try to stay off your phones. And
Yeah, there's absolutely no technology in committee, so no laptops, no cell phones. If it goes off, it's
yeah.
You guys can take a chance to turn them off right now.
Can we use timers?
Oh,
like when we're doing moderated.
Will that be up there?
Do you want to pull a timer up? We can have one up here, and we'll also have one at the table. Yeah.
Question, like I know that regular, like other committees, you can ask, like after you're done with the speakers list, for your time, questions. Is that for questions like between the and five or something?
So we're not going to have a speakers list, so there won't be any yield because.
Yeah, under a moderated caucus, there's no yields to either questions or other.
Right, it's just a little bit different than normal committees. Yeah.
I know also in other committees, they're kind of particular about like not calling committees out by name and things like that. So in this case, are we allowed to address people by what interrelations and things like that?
Yeah, I think crisis committees are a lot more loose in terms of that, so feel free to do that, but obviously don't be offensive.
And like right to reply is going to be on a very strict case-by-case basis. Just because someone calls you out doesn't mean that you have the right to reply.
Does everyone know what right of reply is?
Raise your hand if you know what it is.
But you don't have that in the moderated caucus.
People try to use it. I mean, that'll be up to the chair's discretion.
By action. We'll just figure it out.
Are there any other questions?
Yeah.
Will you want us to like stand up from our seat or?
Oh, I was going to ask you guys what you wanted to do. Since it's such a small committee, I think it's okay if we just stay in our seats. Unless someone really wants to stand up, you can. But other than that, you can just stay.
The three people that are sitting behind, do you guys want to move up into the circle? Are you fine?
So like,
You have the option.
so when we're speaking, just sit. Is that what you're saying?
Unless you really want to stand.
Okay. I'm gonna stand.
Okay, that's fine. Just feel free to stay sitting or stand or come up front or whatever you want to do. I think we'll let you guys choose. Okay, if there are no other questions, I'm going to ask you guys if there are any points of motion. Could you speak up a little bit?
I motion to begin the crisis committee.
Okay.
Sorry. Move, yes. Sorry.
Okay. That is in order. Yeah.
Motion to open a continual moderated caucus with a speaking time of 45 seconds.
Okay. Right now, I would look favorably upon motioning for a roll call. Yeah.
I motion for a roll call followed by a 1-minute speech as you call roll for each person.
Okay, we're going to use chair's discretion and do the roll call first, and then we'll go in this direction, doing opening speeches.
All right. Administrator of NASA.
I'm here.
Okay, say present.
Present.
Ambassador to the Soviet Union.
Present.
Ambassador to the United Nations. Attorney General. Wait, who's that?
Present.
Chairman of the FCC.
Present.
Chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff.
Present.
Chief of Staff of the U.S. Air Force.
Present.
Chief of the Secretary of Service, or the Secret Service. Chief of the Secret Service. CIA Director.
Present.
FBI Director.
Present.
First Lady.
Present.
National Security Advisor.
Present.
Secretary of Agriculture.
Present.
Secretary of Commerce.
Present.
Secretary of Defense. Secretary of Health, Education, and Welfare.
Present.
Secretary of Labor.
Present.
Secretary of State.
Present.
Secretary of Treasury.
Present.
White House Press Secretary. All right.
Okay, while she's establishing quorum, we can start with our round robin of opening speeches. Let's just start from this side. So, Secretary of Agriculture.
Hello, my name is Orville Freeman, and I'm the Secretary of Agriculture. And I really hope to develop and execute any federal government policies on farming, agriculture, and forestry and food. But if that does not come up, I would still like to discuss the crises with y'all and just really find a way to solve it.
Hello, Cabinet. I'm John McCone, the Director of the CIA. I hope you guys are all having a good day. And I'm ready to collaborate with all of you on the current situations that are soon to be at hand. And I hope that we can defend the great United States to the best of our ability. Thank you.
Yeah, we can do it.
Hello, Cabinet. I am Amy, as Secretary of State. I look forward to joining with all of you in trying to find solutions to the topics at hand.
Hello, Chair. My name is Douglas Dillon, and I'm the Secretary of Treasury. I'm responsible for formulating recommended economic, financial, tax, and fiscal policies. And I look forward to preaching out to all of you and figuring out how to deal with communism and upcoming issues.
Hello, I am Boyd Kohler, Ambassador to the USSR. My goal would be to establish better communication throughout the country and different nations.
Hello, everybody. My name is Arthur Goldberg, and I'm the Secretary of Labor. I am in charge of the Department of Labor. we have a few acts that are basically our mainstay and what we are generally in charge of. We have the Fair Labor Security Act and Social Security Act. We're responsible for trying to maintain the economic health of the United States. In my position, I'm also in charge of helping out with strikes, especially union strikes in terms of steel or anything like that, because we do want to keep a productive economy and we want to be better. We want to have a better economy than the Soviet Union and the other communist countries, so that the world can see that democracy is indeed flourishing and democracy is indeed more effective than communism.
Hello, Cabinet. I am Adlai Stevenson. I'm the U.S. Ambassador to the United Nations. I represent our beautiful nation, and I try to mediate any issues that arise. And amidst all the crises we'll discuss, I just want to ask everyone to remember these words I spoke in my speech to the United Nations Security Council about the Cuban Missile Crisis. Our job here is not to score debating points. Our job is to save the peace. And if you are ready to try, we are too.
Covered community, this is the Attorney General of the United States of America.
Cabinet members, I am Curtis LeMay, the Chief of Staff of the United States Air Force, and today it is a known fact that we're under attack. Our ideals are under attack from many communist regimes across the world. Fidel Castro and Nikita Khrushchev, two people who threaten our ideals the most. And I would like to propose several acts that would make our military much more stronger, so that we would be able to protect our soldiers from harm's way. So I ask you, all of you members, to support my efforts to make airstrikes much more prominent than ground attacks. So we'll discuss this more across the committee. So for now, move on.
I am James Webb. I was really confused when President Kennedy asked me to be Administrator of NASA. As an experienced manager, attorney, Undersecretary of State in the Truman administration, and President and Vice President of several private firms, I felt that I was not the best man for the position of administrating NASA, so I thought that it should require a person with more knowledge of rocketry. However, I will do my best to run a balanced program that does the job for the country. I believe that the space program is more than a political race, that NASA must strike a balance between human spaceflight and science, because such a combination would serve to strengthen our nation's universities and aerospace industry. And already the Apollo and Gemini missions have foreseen the most contracts between the government and industry in history. A remarkable set of achievements with a lot of potential to do more. Hope to invest more in our space program, because investing in our space program benefits all Americans. So thank you for your support.
Okay, and going further, I forgot to tell you guys, for 10 seconds, if that sounds good, I'll do like a little tap, and then you'll know when you don't have any more time left.
Shalom, my fellow cabinet members. As your Secretary of Health, Education, and Welfare, I plan on doing my best in providing Americans with all the essential services they are entitled to, no matter the threat from foreign lands. As a child, all my job earnings are spent on my education, which I believe is the key to success in this nation. Our youth especially should have all the equal opportunity to go to school, because education brings our nation to a new and better standard, allowing us to compete on a global stage. The threat from the Soviet Union shows us now more than ever the need for Americans to step up and become the best. The American people need to have all the opportunity to let their smarts be shown and nurtured. Poverty in our country does exist, and as your secretary, we will tackle this issue. And with the help of this cabinet, anything is possible, even going to the moon. President Kennedy has entrusted us with the people of America's well-being, and I, for one, plan on exceeding any expectations held by our youthful and charismatic president. In the South, we are separated, and if we are ever to face the threat of the Soviet Union, all Americans must unite as one. The spread of communism is a threat to all American interests. So while we sit here and debate the segregation of our society, our enemy grows unmatched by the power large enough to do anything about it. But I digress, and leave you with this. If President Kennedy believes it can be done, then gosh darn it, we are going to do it. Thank you, and God bless.
Hello, fellow cabinet members. As chairman of the FCC, my name is Newton Minnow. I don't want to bore you with the frivolous duties of my job, but rather I'd like to talk about and like to discuss the issues currently at hand. So right now we are facing, or people are all over the world are facing oppression. And this oppression comes in many forms. Domestically, it comes in the form of Jim Crow, as it grips the South, and its malfeasance, in my opinion, can no longer be tolerated. We as a committee and as a cabinet must come together to do something about this. We must act, because I believe that as Jesus once said, before we look at the speck in other people's eyes, we must remove the log in our own. So before we tackle the grips of communism, we must first discuss the grips of Jim Crow. Thank you.
Hello, fellow cabinet members. I am the Secretary of Defense, Robert McNamara, and I'd just like to welcome you all to the cabinet meeting. With the Cold War ongoing and the Berlin crisis having taken place, communism endangers the natural rights of not only our American citizens, but the citizens of many other countries. It is important that we prevent the spread of communism to other countries as well as protect ourselves from it. While I do not believe we should pursue military action at this time, it's important that we close the missile gap to prepare ourselves in case the Soviet Union does something or takes any action. So when dealing with the communist world and primarily the Soviet Union, we need to remain prepared and protective while avoiding nuclear warfare unless it's absolutely necessary. Thank you, I am my secretary.
Thank you, fellow delegates. I am Maxwell Taylor, Chairman of the Joint Chiefs. The issues that we are facing at hand today can be separated into domestic and international issues. Quite frankly, internationally, we are at a very dangerous point, as nuclear warfare would be a very, very bad thing. But the thing we need to keep in mind, aside from keeping out of nuclear warfare, because that would kill us all, is that we need to ensure that the world knows the United States is a very powerful country. Aside from staying out of nuclear war, we need to show that we are strong. Domestically, similarly, we need to show that the United States is a very strong country by ensuring peace and advancing the global system under which the United States is able to control. Thank you.
Fellow Americans, I'm Luther Rogers, Secretary of Commerce. It's been 2 decades after World War II, and we have overcome the most despairing and morally destructive era of human history. And through relentless effort to combat communism, that American assumes responsibility as world police to enforce the pursuit of life, liberty, and happiness. And also, as the Secretary of Commerce, I would like to say, during these 2 decades, that American economy has been growing in a very positive, increasing trend, and with lower taxes and tariffs, that American economy embraced an era of prosperity. Also, as American, I would like to say that it is our responsibility to promote liberty and equality. And regardless of races and gender, we should all embrace our ideal of our pursuit of liberty.
Good afternoon. I am Jacqueline Kennedy, and I am the First Lady to John F. Kennedy. I fully support all of his views, as well as putting an emphasis on preserving American cultural heritage, specifically making the White House a national monument.
I'm J. Edgar Hoover, the director of the FBI. I am an adamant anti-communist and anti-subversive activist, and I take an active role in stopping anyone who tries to go against our great country. I believe information and intel is power, and work night and day to improve our intelligence databases. And I would like to conclude by saying I'm a powerful ally, but an even more powerful enemy.
Good afternoon. I am National Security Advisor with George Bundy. I am the assistant to the President for National Security. I have a very conservative background, so as the only Republican in this cabinet, I think that most of my conservative views will help you guys in your Democratic views also. I assisted with the planning for the invasion of Sicily and in World War II, and in 1953, I served as the youngest dean of facility in arts and science. I hope that this cabinet will get through the crisis successfully with my help and also you guys' help.
We have our, all right, sorry, what? All right, we have our first crisis update. So this, let me see if I can zoom in on that a little bit. Can, wait.
You can just hit Control plus, you should be able to hit Control plus.
Control plus.
Computer and zoom in on that, but it doesn't.
There we go, thank you. No, that's not. That's just, okay. So wait, can people, can we turn down, turn off? Okay, yeah, I'll read it to you guys. So it's an article from the New York Times from July 4th, 1962 today. King plans civil rights march. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., renowned civil rights leader, announced today that he plans to organize a large march on Washington to take place within the next month. Although the details of this march are yet to be established, King issued a statement today giving the reasons why the march will be taking place. Though the promises of change have been made by the federal government in recent years, we've yet to see a substantive change in our daily lives. African Americans continue to be subject to vicious hate and discrimination throughout our country, especially in the South. On this 4th of July, while we celebrate the sacred freedoms of America, millions of people still remain unfree. This is unacceptable. Through peaceful protests and civil disobedience, we will seek to effect substantive change. So that is from Dr. King, and pretty much simultaneously after that was released, there was a response. Sorry. Response from the Southern Democrats, and this is also from the New York Times, same day. Dixiecrats respond to King. Soon after King's speech, many Southern Democrats, or Dixiecrats, issued a statement condemning King's efforts and urging the president to not acknowledge the accusations of an action alleged by King. It is widely thought that Dixiecrats will use their voting power in Congress to block any of Kennedy's welfare reform or poverty relief programs if the president takes action on the issue of civil rights. So those are your two updates, and I believe as soon as I leave, the president is going to be coming in to give a brief briefing.
Okay. And also we've established quorum.
I'll stand for the president. Thank you. You may be seated. Esteemed cabinet, you are all experts in your respective fields. Otherwise, I wouldn't have chosen you to be my cabinet members. However, we face a terrible problem in our nation. On one hand, the African Americans are suffering so greatly under the oppression of the Southern whites with the Jim Crow laws and other discrimination. On the other hand, the poor, and simultaneously, the poor of this nation are starving. They're without health care. They're without homes. They are literally dying in the streets. And we have to do something to approach both of these so that both of these things can be accomplished. Now, the Dixiecrats have threatened to withdraw their support in the Senate for any public welfare bill that we would propose if we decide to take action on segregation. However, as president, it is my opinion that we must do the right thing no matter what, and we must take a stand against segregation and all forms of discrimination. However, I'm asking you to draft up a comprehensive plan to try to balance these two things so that I want to try to get both of these passed. If there is any way that you can all conceive that we can both get welfare reform and discrimination eliminated, then by all means, I want you to try to use your collective intellect, which there's a lot of in this room, and try to find a solution that's good for both. I'll take 2 questions.
Is there anything that we know that the Southern Democrats want besides segregation? Like, is there some other way that we can make them happen?
The Southern Democrats, they're a crafty bunch. One thing that there have been rumblings of is increased A, support for agriculture, which is a huge part there, and B, support for increased industrialization in the region. So maybe sending some industrial projects their way might appease them. But again, the crazies like George Wallace, you never know what they really want. And additionally, they have been requesting bigger representation in terms of federal judges. And so those are all things, those are some things to consider, but there are certainly, other things that they might want that we simply don't know. Any other questions? Yes.
Is there any way that we can ignore their protesting, or are they like that powerful of a faction that we have to consider?
The Dixiecrats? Yes, they have enough power in the Congress that basically if we sever all ties with them, if they decided to vote with the Republicans on any measures, it would not pass the Senate, and we would basically be at the deadlock. All right, thank you very much. I hope to hear something in the form of a directive eventually. Thank you.
Do you want us just to pass our notepads?
We were gonna just make eye contact with him and he'll come get it from you.
But not awkward.
For suggestions, we can't
Make it awkward if you want.
For suggestions, we can't just give out our opinions. We just have to write it on the notepad and give it to him.
For what kind of suggestions?
Say for instance,
If you want to use something within your power, is that what you're saying?
yeah,
Yeah, then you would write it to crisis staff.
not my power, but like saying that we should do, like how we should act on the civil rights.
Then you would say that during a moderated caucus when you go to speak.
Which powers do we, like, how many powers do we have?
Trial and error.
Just ask them.
It's about communication crisis.
Any other? Yes.
Motion for a 10-minute moderating caucus, 30 seconds each time to discuss the crisis.
Okay. Any other points of motions? Okay, we'll vote. And all in favor of moderated caucus, 10 minutes, 30 seconds speaking time. This motion passes. All those wishing to speak? Yeah, so you'll get the first chance to speak.
Thank you. So the issue here is that we cannot pass any long-term resolution through the Senate without the support of the Dixiecrats. But the thing is, we have other tools at our hand. We, as the president mentioned, they might be willing to compromise on some areas. So if we improve widespread agricultural reform, it would include the Southern blacks and might appease them. And B, we do have the option of an executive order. That would be something we'd have to have more specifics on, but the president, this is what we have.
National Security Advisor.
I have a suggestion. I think that we should send a letter to Dr. King telling him that he shouldn't at least go along with the march, not just yet, because of the Dixiecrats, well, their threat to us. Might as well take it as a threat.
Administration. NASA.
Okay, so I would like to suggest that we make a NASA base, maybe perhaps in Florida, like Cape Canaveral, to make more aerospace industry to basically try to compromise with the Dixiecrats, because they did say that they wanted some more industry projects, I think that aerospace would be a very good one. Oh, that's time.
No, this is 10 seconds.
Oh.
And then like a big bang slide.
Okay.
Did you have anything to wrap up?
No.
Curtis and
I have a few suggestions to make. Essentially, we should acknowledge Dr. King's march so as to appease all the Black supporters back in the South as well. And so, because appeasement itself is a key to diplomatic theory. And I also think that as the Chief of Staff of the United States Air Force, I think we can establish airfields and Air Force bases in the South, which would further lead to development across the South, which is what the Dixiecrats want, in addition to their ideas.
John McCone.
I think you are completely right whenever you said appeasement is key here. But we first have to realize that civil rights are the most vital part that is missing from our government right now. And that's the reason why if we continue to not have this, I believe that our country's reputation will fall. And I believe that we need to come up with a situation that appeases both sides, like you said, to the best of our abilities.
Chairman of the FCC.
I have basically one thing to say. We do not negotiate with racists. We do not negotiate with people who put other people below them. We do not negotiate with people who think that they're better than other people. That's ridiculous. What kind of precedent is that set? All right, if we're going to say that we can work out a compromise with the South, what is that going to say to the communists? That they can basically wave hostages and people around, and then we'll just negotiate with them. That's terrible. Terrible politics, terrible negotiating. We can't negotiate. We don't negotiate with racists. We don't negotiate with communists.
Arthur Goldberg.
So I think everybody's bringing up some great points. However, we need to consider civil rights, but we need to also make sure that we are appeasing the Dixiecrats as everybody has brought up. So in terms of doing that, we can try to award more federal contracts in the South. The steel industry right now is falling subpar to the world as a whole. So increasing steel production in the South would benefit them and appease them, as well as helping out the minority groups in terms of overall training and job security.
Thank you. Mr. Hodges.
Thank you, Chair. As Secretary of Commerce, I would like to propose that we give aid to the southern industry, and we have more industry which will provide more job opportunities, and that would partially help out the underprivileged African American people. And also, I would like to say that we should probably take a moderated approach to the issue. Radical moves will not get us anywhere. Thank you.
Hubert.
I would like to say that, as some of you have stated, that we should appease Martin Luther King. I have strong belief and evidence that Martin Luther King has communist sentiments, and I don't think that we should appease Martin Luther King himself. Maybe appease the African Americans, but we should not go towards working with communist people.
If you haven't spoken yet.
If you have spoken, please say your back.
If you have. Yeah, okay. Secretary of Defense.
So I definitely think we should put our support behind King, as he has proven to be a proponent of civil rights, and that's something we need to focus on right now. But we also need to improve industry in the South to try to both appeal to the Dixiecrats as well as try to relieve some of the poverty. By starting industry down there, we can it provides employment for a host of people who previously did not have a job. Thank you. I am done.
Stevenson.
Like Secretary Vince just mentioned, we all need to remember that poverty is one of the issues that President brought up, not just civil rights, which whether it's important, but we also need to remember that we're not the only nation around here. We can bring in international corporations to start new jobs in the South and kind of provide more relief for that poverty that's so prevalent right now.
All wishing to speak. Freeman.
As a Secretary of Agriculture, I would just like to say Mr. Directives is putting agriculture back into the South, that they definitely need more of it, and just sending in that aid they need. And that to me is the most important thing, because without the Dixiecrats in supporting Congress, there's no way that any civil rights thing will be solved in that thing. So the first thing that we do to solve is making them a peace and getting them back on board.
Firstly, I would like to state that Dr. King has not shown any political ambition so far. He's a seminal figure in African culture itself, so I think we must negotiate with him. And I think we should deal with the problem from the ground up. Like, if jobs are being given to the poor white people, they can pressure the Dixiecrats to do something about the African American people. We just don't have to bring in all the fields that we've shown so far. So I think we should deal it from the ground up by providing jobs to the poor whites.
Bundy? I agree with LeMay that we should also start from the ground up. We should probably send in, like, not that many, but like a handful of troops. They can probably help them when they march or whenever they decide to. And when they do, if anyone tries to come at them, we don't really use anything offensive like tear gas, anything. We just basically just move them back.
Taylor?
Thank you. So the issue here that many of the delegates are somewhat unaware of is the fact that discrimination is a very big part of this. If we do set up industry, if we do set up jobs, the people who run these jobs are very capable of just saying no to any black person who applies for that job. At the same time, if we set up regulations to ensure that the black people do get these jobs for sure, the Dixiecrats will have an issue with that. Thank you.
As the Secretary of Health, Education, and Welfare, I agree with that statement from the previous cabinet member. And would just like to say that starting some new government contracts and in the South is definitely a doable option as it promotes ties with the South and closer relations, and would like to see some ideas on what contracts option would be. Thank you.
Minnow.
I think we're forgetting the point of why Kennedy chose each and every one of us. I think we're forgetting the fundamental reasons why we're all in this room today. And that's because we were all here, we were all chosen to reform. If we negotiate with the South, if we choose to give them what they want in a form of a compromise, then we're not reforming. We're just going back to the age-old political process of favor giving and lending. And that's a terrible way to do politics because the poor suffer. The people that don't have power suffer. The people that don't have money suffer. All we're doing is helping and appeasing the people with the biggest pockets.
Yeah. Goldberg.
So I think what's something a lot of people are starting around. Yes, we should increase federal contracts and try to industrialize the South, but we should also come back to the fact that we need to work with the civil rights activists, and we need to start promoting civil rights in terms of job employment, in terms of discrimination, especially within our own workforce. Yes, that might have an adverse effect towards the Dixiecrats, but we need to prioritize one thing over the other, or we need to look at both ends as equals, and we also need to go to the avenue of helping increasing civil rights legislation in terms of discrimination.
Okay, two more speakers. Wed.
Okay, I would just like to say that I think that negotiation is necessary for politics. If we just completely disagree with people, then we'll never be able to get stuff done. Regardless of conceding to anybody, industrialization and agriculture is good by itself. So I think that we should definitely pursue that in regards to secessions and appeasement of the Dixiecrats. And yeah, definitely, I like all the things that Secretary of Labor, Chief of Staff said, and how.
Hodges.
you, Chair. I would like to remind everyone here that it's necessary that we negotiate with the faction, the Dixie faction, that is necessary because it's politics. We can't just make a radical move and hope everything will work out. Also, I would like to point out that if we increase job opportunities, that would also address the second issue, which is the issue of welfare to help the underprivileged Americans. Thank you, Chair.
Did we have any points of interest? Yeah.
So when we revert back to our like perpetual moderated caucus, is it always gonna, it's always gonna be discussing like the crisis, right? Like it's always, is it, like what is the moderated caucus?
It's whatever you talk
Just
about.
like
It's just
whatever
gonna
you
be a general moderating caucus is what
Okay,
we
so it
default
doesn't-
to. But you would make a motion to make a, right.
Okay.
Okay, yes.
This is gonna be a motion, so fine.
Did anyone have any other points of inquiry before? Yes.
Can we have unmoderated comments?
Yeah.
You can motion.
You have to motion for it.
I'm-
Whitney's gonna explain the difference between directives and, yeah, I read basically.
Okay, so basically the options for this committee to do as a whole are, there's 3 different options. One, you can have a directive, and a directive is an action that's passed by the committee. It's an action, it's saying you want to do something collectively as a cabinet. A communique, which is also passed by the committee, if it's a committee communique, is for instance, the cabinet wishing to speak to Martin Luther King. So a communique is kind of the entire committee asking to talk to like a specific person or a specific country. A press release is the cabinet releasing a committee-wide press release. So as a cabinet coming out and saying, we take this stand on civil rights or whatever. Are there any questions about what the difference is? Yeah.
So 2 questions. So the first one, in terms of press releases, do we all have to, is that a, like, do we vote on that? Like, how do we go
It
about
depends.
addressing that?
There's like a committee-wide press release, so if you want the whole cabinet to kind of consent as a committee cabinet to pass that, then you would pass it as a committee. But like you individually or your department and or a couple of other combined together can also pass individual press releases within your own portfolio powers.
In a second, how do we do the communicate? Like, how do we go about
You right at the top, communicate to Martin Luther King Jr., write whatever you want to say, or like request to speak. And then there needs to be 1/5 of the committee that is like signing it as a signatory and a sponsor, and then you introduce it and vote on it just like a directive. Yeah.
So basically, the best way to get like all these things, like get the 1/5 support of our committee, is through moderated caucuses or just asking lots of questions.
Can we pass?
Right, that's right.
Okay.
So can we have the ability to like communicate like the Martin Luther King Jr. and like a Dixiecrat at the same time?
It would just be 2 separate communiques.
Oh, so no, I'm saying like Martin Luther King Jr. is here and then like.
If you want to
the same
request
moment.
like a round table discussion, I think.
kind of like arbitrating between both of them at the same time?
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
like so like they could.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that would
Request
be,
one.
I think that would be kind of bad.
maybe, actually, I think that would be like a joint communique.
Just to figure out, if we're gonna do that, we just write like joint communique, when we like say we wish to
We wish
speak
to speak
to the, and then we pass around, say, can sign this, if you want to sign this, sign this.
Yeah, yeah, but you still have to vote on it like.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
And then we just motion to vote on communicating.
Yeah, it's the same sort of process as introducing a directive and then voting on it. You'd have to go into like voting procedure and introduce it. But yeah.
Motion for a 2-minute unlock to just work on the communication.
Oh, is that a motion?
Yeah.
Hold on one sec. Does anyone have any more points or questions?
Yes, actually. Can we just pass notes to each other?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Okay.
But make sure they're appropriate.
And
Yes.
that you're not disrupting whoever's speaking. But yeah, of course. Yes. Any other questions? Yes.
If I do something like in my department, am I just write down like my like ideas
What you
on
wanted
like how to.
Yeah, you just put that to crisis if it's within your powers. Yeah.
And you can be creative in how you talk to crisis. So do whatever works best.
Okay, just one more question.
Okay.
About the powers. So we basically say, I have the power to do this, and then everybody else is like, you don't have the power. Like, how do we figure out what power?
So you're gonna write to crisis staff whatever you want to do. If they think it's not in your power, it's not gonna happen. And if it is within your power, then you'll see how it happens by like what happens next, if that makes sense.
So you'll like communicate with crisis about your power.
Right.
Like,
So they'll tell you if you can or can't do whatever you want to do.
like for instance, if you try to move troops to like your NASA,
Right.
Okay, yeah. Okay, so can we negotiate with the people who have the power to, for instance, move the troops to protect the people who are martyred?
Yeah, just write a note to them and say whatever you want to do. Any other questions? Any confirmations? Secretary of Defense.
Okay, thank you. Oh, sorry, we haven't even started. A motion for a 10-minute, moderated caucus, 30 seconds we can have. For the,
To discuss.
the crisis at hand.
So an extension of the.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Okay, any other confirmations? Yes.
Motion for a 2-minute unmoderated caucus to work on communication.
wait, can you repeat that, please?
Motion for a 2-minute unmoderated caucus to work on the communication.
Minute.
Motion for a, let's go 15-minute moderated caucus for 45 seconds standing time to discuss how the South has taken away the rights of individuals.
Any other confirmations?
Part of it, great.
Yeah.
Isn't it like, I'm just confused as to how necessary it is, like, not no offense to anybody, but how necessary it is, like, to make a moderated caucus, like, if we're always in a moderated caucus.
The point
I
of,
don't understand.
okay, so we always default to a general moderated caucus, but if we're in a specific moderated caucus, for example, on like the South taking away rights of individuals, then you can only speak about that. You can't go on a tangent discussing other issues.
The point is like, in a general assembly, you have that speakers list, which is like the default. But in this, it's like, kind of, it's not necessary to have a speakers list because there's not that many people here. And so speakers list is like super general. So like our version of the speakers list is like a perpetuated moderated caucus. Whereas, and then you want to specify it further. As in, like in a general assembly, you would motion for moderated caucus in the same sort of way, just to make it more tighter of debate. Is that kind of clear? Yeah. Okay.
Point of inquiry, say that, so basically, we can't, like, I know that in regular committees, like, you have to second the motion for caucuses, and then it's like, if there's any opposition, then like, they're gonna have to go into like a pro debate. Does that happen here, or can people just like motion to propose lots of caucuses, and we can basically say that we want something else? Like if we were
I don't think at this conference we do second motions.
okay. Do we do opposition?
Not in motions, but on substantive matters, yes. So like if we move into voting procedure, you move into voting procedures with 2 speeches for and 2 speeches against. Does that help?
Yes.
I move to a 15-minute moderated caucus with 1 minute speaker's time to discuss the issues in much more detail. To discuss how the South is taking away the liberties of Black individuals.
Would you just like to amend?
I retract my motion.
Okay. Levy.
I move to extend the moderated caucus time to 10 minutes, also to work on a possible directive.
We'll make that
I knew it.
Yeah.
How long would you like that time to be?
10 minutes. Unmoderated.
Any other points or motions? Okay, we're gonna vote from most disruptive to least disruptive. And sorry. We need 13 votes to pass procedural matters. Sorry, 10. Okay, so all those in favor of a 10-minute unmod wait, what was the 10-minute unmod for?
The unmod of possible directive.
Okay.
Trying to work out directive and also.
Okay. All those in favor of a 10-minute unmoderated caucus?
Raise a mic, please.
Okay, this motion passes. We're now going to enter a 10-minute unmoderated caucus.
Please remember to be productive during this time and don't go anywhere.
Yeah, I think that's one of the points. I think we should do that. We should do like 2 ways.
Yeah, just
Like labor. And agriculture.
Hey, so how many like people do we assign to the community? 4, 6?
Yeah, 4, yeah, so 4, and you have to have at least one sponsor once.
Like as a like I have the power to.
Since you
Like
have
I just asked myself if I could get some groups too.
What are your-
And everything, so.
On production situation.
Because I'm secretary. But I just like.
Okay, so when we're like, so just letting, like, I guess you disagree with me, Charles, right?
Yeah.
So I think just putting a truth there isn't enough.
Why? The person said you don't know.
Whatever he said, the first thing he said was, we're not, we're just not, it's gonna be an issue.
It probably,
So
I
we're
think
gonna
we
do
still have
that.
that,
Watch out, it's the right.
don't communicate with them, it's gonna keep building up, it's gonna get worse and worse.
So, I can't, I have a federal contracts in the board,
Due
like, I
diligence,
can give
we are
awards
about
to corporations that are employing minorities
I
and things
think
like that. So
that we
that's
should have
like
said truth,
also
but we should also
the
say,
fact
let's just put a timer for
we have
10
all the
minutes,
sorts of
saying that we should maybe,
and
he should maybe
so
slow down with the margins
that's
or
one
anything.
issue. And we have to understand how, the Dixiecrat react to me saying, I'm gonna start awarding for basically doing.
They are trying to create a prejudice, and they know they don't really want to report well, not to be prejudiced, but to give most of their conservative views. Because if they do, they would not even have no attention.
We can use this federal contract to provide jobs for them.
Yeah,
The job share
so we could like modify, we could, I modify, I could say, look, this, we're going to award contracts to this, which is show no racial bias.
Exactly.
And so we'll monitor corporations.
Somebody that would appoint as like the manager.
Well, I think
it's under his power.
And just a little.
Yeah.
So like if we're
I'm not saying, I'm not
Like,
I'm the one that says. We don't go down, like, we don't.
You might go to get some hands up and stuff.
We don't offer them jobs or whatever in exchange
We
for.
have to.
Well, then I agree. But I don't agree with you.
All we have to do is make sure that the march can go on. I think that one of the things that we can allow, like, people who are against Caucus and who are basically.
I understand that you don't want to negotiate with
Say that.
them.
Yes.
Giving you
So basically,
argument, saying if you do
we should
this,
at least
we're
allow
gonna
one
do
to
this,
happen,
and
because
it's
that's
just gonna be fine.
free speech.
But that, I don't think that will work if we grab the right agree that we don't need to really give them jobs, just give
Well,
it
yes,
to
but
them.
having a march out.
So if
We also need
we
to look back to the local vision, like,
started a directive,
Like,
that,
so increasing industrialization
directive,
is like.
JFK to
But
give
another thing with welfare is.
an executive
something we
order
can consider
that
in other
would
stages, is trying to also promote
basically
education.
declare
and things like
martial
that.
law
That's a really big
below the
thing, so which is
Nixon
something
line.
we
Would that be
could
too over,
consider giving in terms
over
of
the line? Would that be?
promoting education of.
What about, is there
minorities
somewhere
Which
else,
shouldn't get
something
much
else
of
that
a
we could do?
backlash, especially if
Something-
we try to
Because
do it.
We don't want them,
If who make
part
it
of
to the federal
the
government. Kind of like
cabinet
how
don't really
after
want them to march
Reconstruction,
because what the
things were,
districts were
yeah, like it
threatened.
was all federally.
Again, I
So,
think there's gonna be a lot of
If
backlash.
they do march,
Send
we
out
could send
different
troops at
people
them.
to
But not
universities.
we could
By
send troops
then,
at them,
before
but
that,
still
there
would
was
not
no
stop them
African
from
American
getting
people
in,
going
turning
to the
to
same
Republic.
universities as the white people.
We already have historically black universities already, so what we
Yeah.
can do is, we
So
can,
I
well,
think
so
now
here's-
we need to
so
stop
what
the
we
march.
can do is we can increase funding for that.
If you want
So
to say
that way,
this,
we're not,
this committee
not
is
overtly saying,
I would.
it's kind of more of an overt way that they won't necessarily, they shouldn't necessarily react. They probably, I mean, anything we do, we want to react.
How long is this that we're talking about this? So if I motion to like have like a speech or something,
Yeah.
like
So it depends on how we work. I guess again, it depends on how we work.
If you like, you what?
Like if I motion to speak, like, we should have more than issues. Talk to this, sounds like you really want this stuff, like, you think like the whiplash.
Yeah.
Yeah,
because I don't know who brought it up,
but like,
we can't
take
just
risks,
ignore this
like,
stuff because they
just
are
because
really
you
big
think there might be
parts.
negative
Especially-
backlash, you would.
This is like our first domestic crisis.
So even if you like get shocked to hell about it, like,
Especially in terms of
like,
international relations.
crisis will
Like,
eventually
you can't
accept
have
something you're trying to do.
north versus
They're
south.
probably gonna like
mentality.
screw you, or like,
Another
you know,
thing
we're not
to
gonna
is
do
like
like.
right now, we're
Nice
trying
try,
to do some
but-
terms of meeting with Russia.
That by no means.
Economic
should do it.
So, yeah, so helping out the industry to south can actually increase, can actually elevate us.
Are those?
to
They're not like
something
far
where
away.
we're like, where we're superseding Russia, so that could also ties.
So like, we're not just doing this to.
We're kind of, we're America, but we're central, we're focusing on the south.
I'm drafting it out of the box, so they may still be like.
I think the president should draft a statement being completely diplomatic, both sides, because to show his support to both sides, like, let's make it as high as possible for both the sides, let's make both of them win as much as they can.
I think your idea of air forces.
Yes.
This idea of federal contracts, also. And, we have lots of Congress projects.
Charities are their own entities themselves.
Yeah, so
The Southern Democrats are gonna like rally against the Red Cross.
they have lots of brown
We can launch charities, like,
Like, send messages directly to, like, if I give it to them, they're gonna send it to the president.
Yeah, if you decide you want to do that, then I would advise,
the charities that we
if you're in this room, that's like one.
I would say that like
And make sure you have like
encourage
consensus with.
charities
anything we have to pick. We're trying to be diplomatic, but I think what we're doing right now is it's like it's kind of we're trying to we have to, I think ultimately we're gonna have to talk about bigger internal support piece. And so we kind of have to pick what we're gonna support. 'Cause like right now we're trying to be diplomatic and that's all well and good. But at the same time, you can't get much done.
Here's what JFK said. That's what JFK.
any long
What would you do for that change that?
Well, these only have will be for.
It's not like we're like into the Dixiecrat, we're just trying to like appeal to them.
Well, so
We're not like.
Yeah, like
Something
she
that-
said,
that's
we're
not-
not trying to
we're not-
give, we're not trying to give away all of Dr. King, like, we have to support both sides. And he's right, like, if we do support all, like, civil rights, then we can't get anything
All right,
done.
here.
So we have to
Key.
support both
This is
sides.
key. JFK said that we must take a stand against discrimination. He never said exactly define just what happens.
Yeah, so I mean that's a good point.
So if we just kind of leave it a little bit more vague, I mean, I know that's not.
Okay, so it's 5 seconds.
But if we, as long as we try to.
It's
make
what?
this something for the community.
Is it five, okay?
That's what I have, any sponsors, so 5 seconds.
We need to deal with some issues.
Instead of saying like welfare and integration, we can like kind of rename it and say we want to focus on boosting the economy as a whole. Because I mean, the main thing with segregation, what we want to do is and they don't have as much economic welfare, so they're not able to compete. They're not able to compete like with the white people. So what we can do is we can try to raise the economy as a whole. JFK had the policy of a rising tide lifts all boats. So if we try to boost the economy as a whole, hopefully it'll have a impact. It's a trickle down effect, basically. But at the same time, I would say that education would probably be the biggest way to help them. That wouldn't be.
Exactly, because education would change the mindset for South people. We should make them believe that the black people are not out for their jobs.
Yeah, so we educate them, we educate the course. Yeah, but we're looking for long-term.
But if you think about jobs and stuff in general, they're still not gonna change.
It's not really good.
We
We can't completely get rid of prejudice and discrimination. What we can do is like you said, the main reason discrimination is rising is because of the fact that there's a huge economic disparity, there's a huge social disparity. So I think if we can boost, if we can lower that economic disparity, I think it'll have an effect on the effective segregation.
Yeah, I guess the old people belong to an older generation. Like they're gonna be gone now, and next future generation is gonna be filled with children. We must educate them so as to make them less discriminatory and equal.
Okay, so I think we're targeting what we're targeting is we're targeting in general, in general, because when they're reducing most African Americans, we're going to target them, but we're also going to target people like make up most of the, like everybody's been saying, they're like half the reason that these things are so we can show you.
No, they should do it on the outside.
Social media is not there.
Did Robert tell you about that? So when I give it to you, just type it out. Let me see on that. I feel like you should have a separate doc for this stuff and then for directives. Like, do you think it's gonna be confusing? We have directives in here and we have stuff.
Split it up. Yeah. Can we split up the writing?
Why don't we keep?
I think it's fine if we just like.
And how much time
Just
is
says
left?
that we have a 46 seconds.
1 minute.
We just.
1 minute. Wait, you still have some time.
30 seconds. So like, if we just, make sure that there's like future.
Just make it, yeah, you can run it into
Support under civil rights.
Yeah. Motion for extension to a moderated caucus for 5 minutes.
Yeah.
He's probably the chairman of some sort of committee, some along the way. Which one?
What are you?
Okay. All those in favor of extending the unmod for 3 minutes?
Yes.
I don't know.
Everyone, yeah, I have my placard, just imagine.
Okay. Extension of 3 minutes.
I'll make you here afterwards. Okay, so I have the clause about the charity thing. Endorses the increased involvement in urban charities to increase welfare. Do we need to elaborate on that anymore?
Yeah.
Well, like you would just like encourage the charities. I guess we could send a private. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, but like the funding would be have to go through. Well, so if we pass any funding bill, I don't have to like get more. Okay, so yeah, that's anything that we add. That's what I asked him. He said the main issue is going to be funding. So we can encourage these charities.
Bad, and the older people still believe in racism or still believe in still on the middle.
So how would you propose to fix it? How would you? One thing we can do this for the charity is you can like private. Just one of us. Because we're so.
Yeah. No, you have to pass that. Here, I did. Can't get rid of it. Okay, so the issue is.
Just ask you to verify.
Well, it's under your power, so we don't have to worry.
Two sponsors, first and second.
That's fine. If you want to go into I leave the directive.
But that's not gonna be, I don't.
I'm pretty sure I can use stuff like for.
Okay, so. Well,
I think.
aerospace numbers is because like, you have to have extremely educated people to do it, and a lot of these black people So, okay, so the education is probably.
1 minute, I think we're just trying to like, stop, like, yeah, public schools,
Black and white.
but like, we're trying to, yeah, just mostly targeting people in, like, except for the,
So like the first one are already for black and white.
No, yeah, but
Like,
they
so-
don't.
yeah, we're just, you have not.
Yeah, I asked.
Just target, yeah, public schools, like, and especially in like areas that most like
We're the impoverished blacks and whites.
impoverished areas, impoverished areas for those in poverty.
Do you want my situation in the South?
I'll keep writing this to them.
Yeah, we can.
Okay. Quick retraction about the communiques. Since it's kind of confusing, we're just gonna only have directives, so if you want to speak to someone, just make it a directive. So no joint communiques, no communiques. Is that better for everyone?
I mean, it's easy to just ask, just like we want to hear more about this person.
Could you speak up?
I mean, it'd be easy to pass, it's just like we want to hear from this person, that's all we want.
Right, so just treat it like a directive, is what I'm saying.
Okay, so just do that.
Just lump them together.
Okay.
Directive or sequence.
Any questions? I know we confused you guys, sorry about that. Okay, well, are there any points or motions? Yes.
Motion for a 10-minute moderated caucus, 45-second speaking time to discuss what happened in the unmod and any ideas about it.
Okay. Any other?
What's your time?
45.
That doesn't add up.
Oh, I'm sorry. Well, just do 30, it's fine.
Good, I can brief like a housekeeping announcement. All right, so as far as crisis notes, we need some really good ones. I'd like to recommend that any crisis notes sent, if you're trying to actually do something like substantive, or even if you're like trying to research into something else, asking us about it, try to be as detailed as you possibly can as far as like what you want your actions to be. Like, the more detailed you are, the more likely it is we actually get, you'll actually get a good response in that, things will actually happen. If it's really vague, then we really don't know what exactly you want to do. And so just try to be as specific as possible with your notes. But other than that, you guys are doing a great job. Thanks.
Thank you, Robert. And just another quick thing, when you do have a directive, just put it right here, and then we'll get it typed up, and then you'll have to motion to introduce it. Yes or no?
Point of order, are we gonna vote on any matters?
On what?
Pending motions or what? Motions that were presented before that on?
Those have already, expired.
Motion for a 15-minute moderated caucus with a 1-minute speaking time to discuss this out, taking vital liberties of individuals.
Okay, any other points or motions? we'll vote on the 15-minute moderated caucus first. All those in favor of a 15-minute moderated caucus? Okay. All those in favor of a 10-minute moderated caucus, 30-second speaking time to discuss what you guys talked about during the unmod? Okay, this motion passes. All those wishing to speak?
All right, thank you. So what we primarily talked about is, of course, we need to keep the unity in our nation. So supporting civil rights is something that we definitely want to do. So as Secretary of Defense, I'm sending troops to support Martin Luther. But as some delegates said, that they don't want to give in to the Dixiecrats, but we really need to, I guess, work for the better of our nation, not just we need to unify ourselves for upcoming crises that we might have, and also try to stop poverty or alleviate the poverty by doing better contracts.
Thank you. All those wishing to speak? Bundy?
I don't think stopping poverty. I don't think you can never really stop poverty. But in the discussion, most of my candidates or my fellow candidates wanted to raise welfare and other things, but I think that raising it will only it would not really benefit anything. It will just it will not really change the fact that people still will be discriminated. Still be discriminated against each other and still be racism. So I don't think that raising welfare and helping with education would do anything to help. It's actually a mindset of people.
Thank you. All those wishing to speak? LeMay?
Okay, we've discussed a great number of things in our unmoderated caucus, but one of the most appealing things to me and most of the cabinet members seem to be education, because this is a trickle-down effect, like one of the cabinet members pointed out. If we educate these poor white people and show them that African American people are a part of the United States, not just people who are taking away income and jobs away from them. So if we're able to do this by providing them education, I think we can unify the South even more and avoid Dixiecrats from doing anything against deep South people.
Thank you. Goldberg?
Oh, sorry. So a few things we talked about in the moderated caucus, like we said, is that education is a really beneficial thing. And so just to explain kind of how that works is a lot of the reason why segregation is so prevalent is because a lot of the African Americans aren't as well educated. And so what we do with the education is we're going to try to educate all the impoverished people. By educating them, we're going to overall end up benefiting the economy, because like most studies have proven conclusively that education has a direct impact on the benefit of the economy.
Thank you. All those wishing to speak? Minna?
Well, to address what Mr. Goldberg just said, I would like to say that the problem is not the fact that African Americans don't want to be educated. The fact is that they don't have access to the education. So what my group was discussing during the unmod was a plan that will fully integrate the school system. Now, you may be familiar with Brown versus Board of Education, which the Supreme Court ruled that schools must be integrated. However, it does absolutely nothing. So what we would like to do is add Jamie to director.
If you could have the Secretary of Labor come outside, please. Taylor?
Thank you. So in regards to the education crisis, the fact is that even the Dixiecrats realize that education is a good thing. The people this education would go to is wrong. So what I would like to propose is that we fund education, but to solve the location problem, the race problem, the target problem, we would have a board of both Dixiecrat and non-Dixiecrat education leaders to determine these details on where, how the school building project should be undergo. Thank you.
I would like to point out that African Americans do have access to education. They can go to public schools, and they also have universities such as Tuskegee, just has been created. And I don't understand what you're saying, that he said that they do not want to get education either, because they definitely do. And
Hodges, thank you, Chair. I would like to address the problem about education. Yes, it's true that we have public schools for African Americans. However, that the amount of schools are very minimal, and also because of racism and racial segregation, that now African Americans were discouraged for getting to get education, and also. Our plan is to create more public schools and promote education among the African American community. Thank you, Chair.
Goldberg?
So I just like to let everybody know that I was just approached by a communist faction to give us information about the Kennedy, about what's happening here. And so if anybody else is approached by them, I'd like them to tell us and shoot them down, like all communists should be shot down.
Lene.
So as to what Mr. Goldberg here said, I, as the Chief of the United States Air Force, have the power to shoot down any communists who show their efforts in the United States. So, and regarding education, I think it's also about educating the poor white people, because we can show them that if they work hard, they can get jobs. It's not just that these African Americans are taking away jobs from them. You just have to work hard to earn what you need to get. So I think education of the poor whites is just as important as the education of black people. So.
Wed?
So one thing that we did mention was the industry side of things. So we've been talking a lot about education. I believe that industry, something that we mentioned, we all were in agreement with, it would be a good thing. Also, allowing King to march would be something along the lines of free speech. And since we're in a democratic society, industry, free trade, and free speech are something that keep us different from the communists. And communists just are bad, so go democracy.
Secretary of Defense.
Thank you. So I think with education, we're primarily trying to focus it on impoverished areas, not specifically whites or specifically blacks, kind of both. So that's kind of what we're trying to do with education to, I guess, just promote alleviating poverty. And then with the industry in the South, by establishing the industry, as we were talking about with the Secretary of Labor, by putting somebody in power that would hire people not based on color, but just based on everything else, we could have, I guess, try to integrate black people into these industries and also in power. Thank you.
Hoover?
I would like to say that by no means should we go against Martin Luther King's march, but that I would advise that we stay as far away from supporting King himself, because he has shown very great evidence of having subversive actions against our government. So while we should allow him and his people to march, we should stay as far away from any of us in the cabinet directly supporting him.
All those wishing to speak? Bundy?
With Lene, he was talking about how education will help. Education will kind of help with the poor black people, but with the people who have family members that are really dedicated to really stopping African Americans, with their parents and their grandparents, they will still like say for instance the KKK, they will drag them into it even if they don't want to. So if they didn't want to, they would still drag them into the KKK, and then they will have no choice but to do what their parents say. It's not really education that's really going to help them get over this.
Hodges? Thank you, Chair. We believe that education is like, it's a way to to prosperity, and we also believe that education is very necessary in this case. And also, I would like to address the issue with industry, that to create more job opportunities is one way to solve the crisis, and also that we need funding. So I would like to appeal to all delegates here that we should all just appeal funding. Thank you, Chair.
Okay.
We would like to take a new aspect of this. We agree with everything that's said about education and industry. However, we were wondering how you not know, it's kind of spilled about the possibility of propaganda, not negative propaganda in any way whatsoever, but like almost positive desegregation, because you don't want to be anti-desegregation, but you don't want to be, not promoting equal rights. So I think that if we can talk about equal rights as a whole and start off with something like that, we can get this bus moving.
Webb.
Okay, just to add on to that, the JFK explicitly said that we must take a stand against discrimination. I like the idea of just looking at it as a general thing, equal rights. I think that would be able to get, I think that would not have as bad of as strong of a reaction against it. If we focus more of a broad, helping more people than just talking specifics.
So one thing that I think is really good in terms of equal rights is, again, we can try to, in order to work towards equal rights, we have to gain the trust and the backing of the Dixiecrats. And so one way we can do that is we can offer economic incentives for those states that start repealing Jim Crow laws, or even counties that start repealing Jim Crow laws. Because remember, we're talking about Congress, so we don't have to appeal the state as a whole, but we can appeal to different districts within that place. So that's one avenue we can go to start repealing Jim Crow.
Hoover.
On a somewhat different note, but still relevant, I would like to urge all of our cabinet members that to stay as far away from communists as possible, because as you know, working with these people is going against everything with our country. So no matter what we do, if you work with a communist, if you inform them of anything that's being discussed here, you're going against the country, and you're basically making everything that we're doing here irrelevant. And I would like to point out that I have specific intel linking some of you to this.
One speaker left. Does anyone have a directive that they're working on? Okay, the dais would strongly encourage you to submit this before this moderating caucus is over, if you can. Okay, so all those in favor to speak.
Okay, Mr. Goldberg points out an excellent point about providing economic incentives, but who does this money go to actually? Does it go directly into the pockets of these Dixiecrats, or how are you going to allot this money so that it benefits all the African Americans and the white people living in the South? Because if we don't handle this money well, it's essentially going to be like giving a bribe to a Dixiecrat in the South. So I think we should give this money in a much more careful manner if we do so.
Okay, that ends our 10-minute moderated caucus. Are there any points or motions? No.
Motion for a 4-speech extension.
For what?
4-speech extension.
Okay. Taylor.
Motion for a 5-minute unmod to finish directive.
Any other Hodges?
Motion for a 5-minute extension to the current moderated caucus.
Okay. The dais would look favorably upon the 5-minute unmod, granted that we get a couple of directives done.
I move to go with a 5-minute mod to get directives.
Okay, we're gonna interrupt you guys for a minute. Oh.
Let me talk first. I think I'll probably. Yeah.
All right.
No, not all right.
George Wallace has a couple of.
Introducing George Wallace.
Yes. Hello, Cabinet President Kennedy. My name is George Wallace, George Corley Wallace. I'm the governor, the newly elected governor of the great state of Alabama. And I've heard some rumblings with my friends in Washington about some proposals that you may have to bribe the Southern people into giving up some old peculiar institutions. And let me just say, we will not be bribed. We are a proud people. And no matter what you say, you will not force us to do anything. The state motto of Alabama is, we dare defend our rights. And we will defend our rights. We will not be subject to any federal tyranny that you may seek to impose upon us. We will not fall for your trickery of your promises, your empty promises that have been made time and time again to the South. We will not negotiate. Thank you. I will take no questions because this cabinet displeases me. Thank you.
Just a housekeeping thing. If you're gonna do a directive, do it on the Alman notepad and like just tear it off and put it up here. That's fine too. Just not your crisis notepad.
Okay.
It's okay for this one,
Okay,
but just for future notice.
All right. Can I give a brief thing? So we would like to see a directive about the actual any support or against the march that Dr. King proposed in the first crisis update. We'd like to see a directive either, doing something substantive with that, or at least acknowledging, its, the values of the march or anything like that. And we'd like to see that submitted fairly soon, because otherwise Dr. King will march with or without your approval. Thank you.
Any points are made? Yes.
Where is he marching? Washington, right?
Okay, let's vote on our.
Okay,
Let's vote on this 4-speaker extension of the current moderated caucus. All those in favor? I did it out of order, but there's no big deal. So all those in favor of its 4-speaker extension while we type up the directives. All those opposed? Everyone has to vote on procedural matters. Okay. All those in favor of a 5-minute unmod to discuss the directives. This motion passes. We'll now enter a 5-minute unmoderated caucus. Please be productive.
can I talk to a minute real quick?
Yeah.
If you need any questions, just let me know.
You gave that note to Hodges?
Yes.
Okay.
These programs will be presented to Congress.
Did you have a question?
No, I think we got, no, we haven't.
We have one more for you to type.
That isn't included
Yeah.
in the bill.
Is that one long?
This was just.
I just. The building of additional schools law will be added to the bill. These schools will be overseen by a board. I added this part.
Is that right?
These schools will be overseen by the board of economics. Geographical location.
Sorry.
Okay. I don't think it's that much into that.
I mean, I know that, but the CIA. And I like find information, you know, and then relay that to the Alabama court.
Okay, so when it comes to directors,
So the question here is that the long-term funding projects that we have have to go to Congress, but that's why. It's technically a question of whether or not Congress has activity, if the funds are already, whether or not they would. How they would. Well, she asked about it.
I know, like, I know usually you have to ask questions, like, they award that that's what they do. So I'm
saying like implementation, we can just do it.
yeah, so like, will Congress can Congress do anything about that? Actually, is the real thing. You just turn it in, right?
Yeah.
You already got it.
Yeah. Okay. One
Hey,
more thing is.
can you name this?
Still handle some hard. This one, he always wants to manage. Because she's the only one who got the first one. Yeah.
is there a press secretary? Is someone the press secretary?
Yeah, so I mean,
I think the press secretary.
So, I mean, his actions, like, we could probably.
We can send this as a press release for the entire cabinet.
Yes.
And we
Does it have a name?
see to it that the
Yeah.
president himself makes a statement acknowledging Dr. King's remarks, because that's like, the crisis manager pointed it out, so.
Yeah, so, sir, it's an executive order. It's just been done very well.
Just, head back to the timer every now and then. See where
They
we're at.
will, racial bias. You say racial bias?
Discrimination.
No, not that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, are you saying, like,
And the president himself should make a statement on the radio regarding the issue.
On social, welfare, sorry.
The full-
Welfare.
So it's like, whites and blacks.
so.
Pretty sure you're gonna say
That one,
Alright, this is a directive, to send troops to support, Dr. King's march, to show our support, yeah, National Guard. So, because it's a signatory.
One bit.
One bit. Add another thing. We should show that the president.
So basically,
You're in the background.
the march. What?
But you know, things don't
So I think.
It's not background.
But not exactly.
But can you tell? But can you tell?
Want him to direct.
Like, can you guys tell us
We would. You might want to watch.
Yeah.
Well,
Hey, Minna.
So I think.
Minna. Minna.
Was this last? Was this like wanted to be a press release or what?
Well, you said that you wanted to wait on something. You can just cut that out, that's not.
Yeah. Kind of more. Actually, probably more like.
Yeah, I know. Like the CIA.
Yeah. Any points or motions? Taylor?
Motion to present all directives on board.
Okay, we're still typing them up.
Yes.
Introduce it a little bit. Hodges.
Motion to present, press release.
Which one?
The one I just.
Did you
I'm
title it?
gonna introduce a new subject.
Old red.
On a point of three, so
Yeah.
when we give you a directive, like, do we just obey it, like, we do a paper, like, how does that work?
What?
Like, when we, like, do you just type with the directive, and as soon as you're done typing it, we get, like, we vote on it? How does that?
No, you have to, okay, so
Like, how does?
when you get, so you give us the directive and then we're typing it up right now. And then you have to motion to introduce it. And then we can have debate about it and then you can motion to vote about it. Does that make sense?
Wait, are you asking what the format you want? Is that what you want?
Yeah, like, how, she just answered it. That was my question.
Whoever, Namira, can you name this directive? Make sure you name all your directives already.
Minnow.
Motion for a, go with 5 minutes moderated caucus with a 1 minute speaking time on, I don't know, actions against racism.
The chair would recommend you.
Any other points of motion? Taylor.
Motion for a 5 minute moderated caucus, 30-second speaking time to discuss the directives that are on the floor.
Okay, any other points or motions? Okay, we're good, yes.
Point of order, our directives, do we need to vote on those as a committee?
Yeah, we're gonna end up.
So we're going to, what?
Yes, so you have to motion to introduce the directive, and then we can have debate about it, and then you vote.
I was just curious.
Okay, yeah, you do have to vote on them. So we're gonna vote on 5 minute moderated caucus, 1 minute speaking time. About, who made this motion? What was it regarding?
On, actions against racism, federal
Okay.
actions against racism.
All those in favor of a 5 minute one mod on such subject, please raise your placards. Okay, this motion passes. We're now in a 5 minute moderated caucus. Would Minnow like to speak first? Okay, you have a minute.
Okay, so basically what I've been doing is within my department, I've directed the bureaus beneath me that oversee the radio waves, that oversee television broadcasting and that kind of thing. They will institute, starting effective immediately, a $500,000 fine to any radio or television station or network that airs any content or advertisements that is racist or derogatory or degrades any races, and with emphasis on the African American race. And this is, of course, effective. This is effective immediately, and this is for every stay in the Union, every Commonwealth of the United States.
Thank you. Hodges.
Thank you, Chair. I would like to say that racial segregation is a very serious issue here that we are facing right now. However, I would like to remind everyone that the radical strategies concerning the crisis will only make the opposing faction more angrier. And so I would like to propose that we have a more moderate solution to the problem. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Stevenson.
As the UN ambassador, I am very familiar with the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, and therefore I understand that every person is entitled to the set number of rights. That being said, most every American has these rights. So the idea of separate but equal is not entirely wrong. As long as they have these rights, it's okay. We don't need to end the segregation, guys. It's cool. We're good with that. As long as they get their fundamental rights, we are totally cool with that.
Goldberg.
So within the Department of Labor, we've taken steps to, we've created a committee that's going to evaluate the racism and racial bias in the federal government. And so right now they're in the process of evaluating that. And so we're going to further take steps to eliminate racism in the federal government. So that's kind of what we're doing.
Okay, we have one last speaker, Taylor.
Thank you, Chair. So Taylor would like to remind Mr. Stevenson that separate and equal is now legal. But the fact is that that was a very good idea. But the idea we have now is to present the funding of the schools that we are initiating to a board of representatives so that the details regarding where and how the schools are built are left up to an entirety of the
Okay, that ends our moderated caucus, and I believe we have a crisis update.
Yes, brief crisis update. We have this article from, that's an old one. Hold on a second. Wrong one. It's update. So I'll read this. Feds intervene. This is from the Washington Post. Federal marshals, under the orders of Attorney General Robert Kennedy, attempted to peacefully halt freedom marches taking place in Alabama. However, they were unable to stop the vast number of protesters. In the chaos that ensued from them trying to stop the protesters marching, several marshals were trampled, and in response, shots were fired. Three marchers were killed, and several marshals were injured. And it's unknown by the Washington Post at this time whether this action of the marshals was only approved by the Attorney General or if it had the approval of Kennedy or his cabinet. I can take a couple questions, I guess. Webb.
Exactly when did this happen?
This happened July 25th. The newspaper's from July 26th. And so about 20 days have passed since the first crisis was announced. And Dr. King, in these past about 22 days, was able to organize a small group of marchers to begin the march in hopes that more would join along with him. And so this was the smaller march that sort of escalated into, because so few, like compared to the number of marshals that were sent, there were so many protesters that they were vastly outnumbered. Hodges.
Thank you. What are like the opinions of like people in Alabama? Are there like things like KKK going on?
At this time, yes, the KKK is very prevalent in Alabama. As far as the opinions of Alabamians, they feel that any federal intervention in their affairs is out of the question. They believe in their absolute sovereignty as a state, and therefore, even though the federal marshals were attempting to stop the marches, they still consider this an intervention in their own affairs, and therefore they are against it. Goldberg.
So what's the reaction of Dr. King and other civil rights activists to this disruption?
Well, as far as Dr. King goes, of course, he's mourning those that were killed in the ensuing conflict, but he is urging peace, and he is urging the federal government to not try to stop the marches, but to bring about solutions to the problems that they're marching to. Now, more radical elements, including Malcolm X, are trying to paint these dead marchers as sort of martyrs for the cause for violence against Southerners and, in some respects, the federal government for what they call murder. I'll take one more. Bundy.
I'm kind of puzzled. Were the marshals responsible for the deaths of the 3 marchers, or?
Yes. The marshals were attempting, under the orders of the Attorney General, to stop the march. And, sorry?
Peacefully, right?
Yes, they were attempting peacefully. However, the marchers refused to stop, and there was some chaos that happened because they were essentially almost trampled by the marchers trying to go over them. And I think some of the marshals panicked and drew their weapons. Minnow, and that's it.
Define peacefully. Now, whenever, because you said they were attempting to stop the protesting peacefully, was that using like tear gas, or
No,
was that using fire hoses?
they were not doing any of that. They were simply trying to stand in the way of the marchers and ordering them to cease marching and go home.
Limiting their personnel.
So they did not have their weapons drawn. The only time the weapons were drawn were when they were completely surrounded by the marchers and they were being pushed, shoved, trampled, and they felt that their lives were in danger.
And the marchers were nonviolent in any?
The marchers were non-violent, as in they were not armed, they were not seeking to cause physical harm. They declared they were not seeking to cause physical harm on people, but incidentally, it might not have been that the marshals could see that if they were being engulfed.
So they were exercising their
no more questions.
Thank you. Okay, we just finished up our moderated caucus. Do we have any points or motions? I believe all of our directives have been typed up in our press releases. So the option to introduce them now is possible. Lene.
I move to introduce directives that have been presented by the cabinet members.
Which?
Okay, any other points or motions? All right, all those in favor of introducing the directives? This motion passes.
Which one? Yeah, that was just a directive to have Dr. Martin.
Oh, that was the directive
speak
itself.
with-
Okay.
Unless there was something missed there. Just the first directive was just to have Dr. Martin Luther King come speak with the cabinet. Yes.
It doesn't have to be like in person, it could be like a letter or something. It is like,
Please calm down.
Yep. One second, sorry.
And then is there one under that one?
Yes.
Is it that one?
Or
Okay.
what do we?
I'm just giving you guys a couple minutes to read.
Here.
Okay, scroll back up.
Has everyone read and understands all these directives?
So this bottom directive,
Bottom one.
who is the first name on it? I didn't read it.
Oh, that's James. Yeah, I put James.
James.
I put James.
Just like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I did.
Okay, would the representative for the Speak with Dr. Martin Luther King directive like to introduce the directive?
What is that?
You can have like 30
Pros and
seconds
cons
or, after, that would be after we introduce the directive.
Okay.
So you can have, let's just say a minute. Each sponsor will have a minute to introduce their directive or press release.
Okay, as the Secretary of Health, Education, and Welfare, I believe that speaking with Dr. King would allow us to have a better understanding to what Dr. King desires out of this movement and everything, and so we can better negotiate between the two sides and kind of act as a mediator.
Do you have any points or motions?
I personally agree. Can you
Yeah.
ask him questions, or how does this work?
You can take,
For that.
yeah,
Like motion for a however minute long Q&A session. They.
Can we, are we allowed to amend? Like, how, are we allowed to like amend directives? How does it work?
Yeah.
Okay. Just like, can we just, like, if all the sponsors agree?
If you're coming.
Cool.
Do you guys think it would be better, since we have like so many directives and 2 press releases, I think, do you guys think it would be better to introduce all of them, or should we introduce them one at a time, have a pro and con, and go from there?
I'd say one at a time.
One at a time, that's what I think.
Yeah.
Just a reminder, committee ends in 34 minutes.
Yeah, so can we like rate, do you have to present them in the order they're presented to you? Or are we allowed to like say, can we like go ahead and put them in press releases and then vote on directives? That'd probably be faster.
We can do like, we can separate press releases and directives, but we're gonna introduce them in the way that we receive them, like each category. So since we're already on directives, we'll stick with that. So right now, the chair will look favorably upon a pro and con, 2 pros and 2 cons regarding the Martin Luther King. Yeah, what?
I moved to enter into a 2 pro and 2 con debate on directives.
How much speaking time?
45 seconds for each speaker.
Okay, Goldberg.
Is there any way we can just skirt around the pro and cons if there's not that much dissent? Like, if we fail the motion, if we fail his motion, do we just go straight into voting?
Like, if we have just factual questions regarding the directive, it's not exactly pro and con, because I don't think we have that office.
So you want to do Q&A?
Yes, Q&A, yeah, just like a few questions.
So rather than like
Right.
pro and con, wasting like not wasting up, but like trying to be.
Okay, then you would just motion for Q&A. Minnow.
I know.
Lemay.
I move to a Q&A session, 45-second Q&A session with regards to the first directive.
For how long? How many?
1 minute, like, is it individual speakers or?
Just, how about not a speaking time, let's just do how many questions?
3 questions. 3 questions per speaker.
Okay. I'm trying to think of the most efficient way to do this. Why don't we just do like a 3-minute question and answer session?
Yeah.
Okay, so you would come back up. Okay, so you can just take the questions.
Okay, so speaking with Dr. Martin Luther King, as the protesters have in the second update, they trampled over some of the marshals. Could that not be kind of, I mean, I almost say anarchist, but it's kind of resembles a little bit of anarchy to be trampling over these marshals. What exactly are we going to speak with Dr. King about?
Yeah, okay, so with the recent incident that happened, King, I don't believe is associated with that, like, he's not directly involved in that, considering he's kind of in Washington, and, that's my understanding of the matter, so, I think that he represents a good majority of, people that are demanding change in society, and so, that's why I believe he is the most pertinent person to talk to.
Who's doing the speaking again, UI or the president himself with Dr. King? Like, who's
So
talking?
he's going to either, I guess, I don't know how he's going to do it, either issue like a letter to us or something, just as a committee, not individually. That's
That's
again,
it.
my understanding of it. Yeah,
Do
Taylor.
you have any specific questions that you want to ask?
Again, he'd be addressing us as a whole committee, so if you guys do have any like specific questions, I guess you could, ask him. I don't know, again, how it's going to come, if he's going to either be here in person or write a letter to us, but, so we'll find out about that.
So like we're fully aware that we shouldn't be too radical because we have the opposing factions. And how is talking to Dr. King is going? How is talking to him affecting our decision on the solution to crisis?
Yeah, okay, so right now we kind of know a little bit about the Southern Democrats, kind of what they want, and as a matter, and so I believe in understanding a little more from the other side. It helps us, because again, I said that he represents, a pretty big faction of people that want social change in America. And so with talking with him, we kind of get a better understanding on, maybe his interests and, ways we can kind of have both sides get what they want in a way, if we can do our best.
I have a question based on the fact that it'll definitely become evident that he's visiting us. So how would you deal with the backlash from the Southern leaders that we would get from this? Because no doubt we would receive it.
Yeah, definitely before I requested it, that was one of my main concerns. And with it, sometimes you just have to go for it. And we do expect there would be backlash with this action, but we have to remind state entities that we are a federal, we are above them. So.
Okay, and that'll be all the questions for this session. Thank you. Sorry, we ran out of time. Any points or motions, Namara?
Motion to move into a voting procedure on this directive.
Okay, any other points or motions? All those who are in favor of moving into voting procedure for the Martin Luther King directive, please raise your placards. This motion clearly passes. We will now enter voting procedures. When we're in voting procedures, you can't leave the room. Not that you would, but just FYI. Right, so I think 13 of you need to vote for it to pass.
And you're expected to say.
Okay. Yes.
Point of inquiry, are we allowed abstentions or do we have to vote?
Just a second.
Okay. I was just assuming that since we're in the cabinet.
In typical committee, yes, I'm not sure about crisis. Since you didn't, what?
That's what
It would make sense for like a cabinet,
like
we all have a
voting
stake in
on
the
the
matter.
US, so we all have to have an opinion. Is what I was thinking.
Yeah.
That's
Like abstentions would have
Since no one, when we did roll call, no one was.
No one was present voting, everyone voted.
Right.
But that wasn't specified in the beginning, because we're like, it wouldn't make sense to follow a UN protocol if we're not a UN body.
I mean, it says each member must vote yes, no, or abstain.
So it's up to you.
Well, that's a chair thing.
Yeah. You can abstain if you feel the need to do so. Is that clear to everyone?
Yes.
Okay. All those in favor of passing the directive, Martin Luther King, please raise your placards and raise. This directive passes. Okay, would the sponsor for the next directive like to introduce it? Okay, you have a minute.
Point of order, could I have any video communications presented temporarily?
Could you what?
Can I have any video communications with the crisis committee presented temporarily while we discuss it?
I guess. Like you don't want them to see you?
Correct.
Yeah, let's just do it, why not? I mean, he controls it. He does.
They're probably not gonna listen right now.
Should I just like stand in front of it?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I don't want them to hear me either, see me or hear me.
We're just gonna do it like this for now, and then I'll ask what we should do about that next.
Okay. So basically, our directive sponsors are myself, Mr. Rubikoff, Mr. Kohler, and basically what we would be doing is directing President Kennedy to issue an executive order that would integrate all schools by 1962. Again, we do have the precedent to do this because of Brown versus Board of Education. And this would entail, I noticed that the whole directive is not up there. So, but I know this would entail by the beginning of the calendar school year 1962 of ceasing any federal funding or subsidizing that school would receive if they do not fully integrate. And by the way, fully integrate to the extent of the law would be looking at the first, second, basically all the Bill of Rights and then like the government making sure that all of those are being observed to every individual at that school. And if this was not done by October 1st of the calendar year, 1962, then that would result in National Guard intervention. Yes, that is legal by Kennedy. We have precedent from George Wallace, and that. So we have that precedent. So we would be able to we'd be able to nationalize the National Guard, and they would be able to intervene and enforce the integration of the schools.
Taylor,
Motion for a 3-minute Q&A.
how long?
3 minutes.
Okay. Do you guys just want to automatically do the Q&A after?
Yeah.
And I want to amend that to 2 minutes, so we're going to do 2 minutes.
So we'll.
2 minutes Q&A, yes.
So 2 minutes Q&A after every directive and everything.
After every introduction, press release, directive.
Yeah, anything.
Yes.
So we know that we have an opposing faction, and right now we are not supposed to do anything too radical. And this is clearly way too radical for us to like actually consider. So,
I don't believe, and none of the people that are up there with me believe that the people of the South should be pawns. We don't believe that the people in the South can give us, or can just say unilaterally, the people with the biggest pockets can just say unilaterally that that it's our duty to please them. We want to please the people. We don't want to please the people with the biggest pockets. We want to please the people that are the majority.
Yes, are we really threatening them essentially by pulling federal funding? Like that seems quite radical, like she pointed out, because like we know they're already pretty affected by what's happening right now and what the president is doing. So do you really think that's a great idea?
Well, radical measures, well, this is, I do believe, a radical measure. I would agree with you. However, measures that have been called probably unradical or whatever you want to call them don't work. That's kind of been proven. That can be proven with Brown versus Board of Education. You know, the Supreme Court ruled out unconstitutional. Well, whoop-de-doo, schools are still segregated. All right, any other questions? Mr. Secretary McNamara.
So this is probably gonna, first of all, produce a lot of backlash from the Dixiecrats, but also, is this even practical to do, to enforce like non-segregation by October 1st of 1962? Like, it's incredibly quickly, and we're quickly approaching it. How can we do it that quickly? How can we enforce it and everything?
Would you like, I would be okay with it. I'm sure be okay with like 2 months, you know, it's like December 1st, or January 1st, 1963, something like that. Would you be better, would that be better for you?
I'm just saying, I think it would take more than a year.
Well,
It's definitely difficult, like, thing, but like, it's something, okay, I mean,
You amend that to January 1st.
Okay, that concludes the Q&A session for this directive. Any motions? Yes.
First appointment, where can I propose to?
It's a friendly amendment, just write it and give it to us and then we'll change it.
I've got it.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
We have a quick update from Crisis. Dr. Payne is currently marching and has said that he is willing to meet with the cabinet once the march is over.
Well, can we get some refreshments?
Any other points of motions? So your options right now are either to
We
have a
don't
pro
have
and con.
Is
Okay, road call.
one of the three,
Yeah.
like, for how long, like, realistically, till Martin Luther King? Committee time.
We'll find out for you.
Okay, well,
Is it gonna be the next session or this one?
We'll find out. We'll let you know. Taylor,
Motion for a pro con speech of the director.
like two.
Yeah.
Is that also motioning to integrate procedure?
Any other points or motions? Okay. Sorry.
Wait to move directly into voting procedures on this bill.
Point of order, can we tell you that the silence amendment? Okay.
Minna,
Motion to enter voting procedure by a roll call vote on directive 1.4, 1.2, I guess.
okay, so we need to vote. Okay, so we're gonna, any other points of motions? Webb?
Can I move to introduce an unfriendly amendment test?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Since we only have 15 minutes left, would you mind waiting to do that until the beginning of the next session?
I should.
Yeah, so that means we would need to, or if you guys think we can just get the voting procedure over with in the next 15 minutes, we can do that, or we can start the next session with that. Roll call.
I'm just thinking, say, for the waiting part. I think that'd be the hardest.
Please be aware that there might be more updates coming.
Okay. Chair's discretion, we're gonna just move into voting procedure on this directive, since we have a lot of other things to discuss. So, yeah, we're now in voting procedure for this directive. All those in favor of it passing, please raise your placards. All those against? And all those, if you're abstaining, this motion fails. This directive fails. Yeah.
It's just a motion. Motion to introduce the bill regarding federal troops supporting Martin Luther King at Washington, because that's going on right now. It's kind of
Is it a directive?
Sorry,
Is it up there?
Yeah.
Which one is it?
That one. Yeah.
Directive support for civil rights movement.
So are you in there?
Oh, no, I was to, like, introduce it.
Oh, introduce that one.
Yeah. It's point of inquiry. Is the march already over or?
No.
Okay. We'll be done.
Sure, would you like to introduce this one?
Yeah.
Okay, you have a minute.
Oh, okay. So this directive is just sending National Guard troops to support Dr. Martin Luther King's march on Washington, kind of to show our support of civil rights and an ongoing issue. And by doing this, we would show our support for equal rights.
Okay, 2-minute question.
But how are we going to control the uprising, as we spoke of, from the Dixiecrats? Like, if we go send troops to support them, they're going to think that we're actually supporting the legislation that we're going to be passing about racial discrimination. How are we going to stop the uprising?
So, I mean, they're going to have obviously opposition, and there's going to be some backlash, but we do need to show our support for civil rights. And like pretty much anything we do, there will be backlash. But by doing this, we're like openly showing our support. We're showing that we do want equal rights for everybody.
Thank you. Well, I still think it's too radical that we send troops to in support of the march, which is kind of showing that we're totally against the opposing faction. So I still think it's too radical.
Okay. So we're not really trying to, by doing this, we're not trying to show opposition to the Dixiecrats. We're more just trying to show support to the people fighting for their rights. It's kind of, it is kind of radical, but if we don't show our support now, when will we? What?
Would there be a way just to like say maybe possibly using this, possibly maybe using the CIA or some other agency to show not open support, but at least protect the marchers, so as not to show opposition to the Dixiecrats, but at least to make sure that he knows that we are at least support his ability to march.
I mean, that would be okay, but I think part of this is that we want to show that we do support them. And like, I understand that there's going to be backlash, but we're trying to work for the better of our nation. And this is going to start advancing our nation. By showing open support, we basically show that we want our nation to support equal rights and everything. But certainly, CIA or anybody could be also there for protection measures.
One more question.
Would you be against changing the wording instead of saying, to say to show support, instead to protect?
To show support and protection.
Like just change it from send National Guards to show support to say to protect, because I think the National Guard entity's job is not to support rallies or it's to protect the citizens of the state. So I think by you're using them correctly if you say to show support for a movement.
So what I was trying to get at there is by us actually sending the troops, we're showing support, but also them being there would be for protection. Do you go with this? It's us sending the troops. So I mean, but I would be fine with saying send National Guards to protect and show support.
I don't know about.
Yeah.
In the future, I'd say
in the future, if you'll just write it on a sheet of paper and get everyone to approve it, and then just send it up to us and we'll change it.
Oh. Wait, do I have to do that now or just
no,
future?
just for future reference, yeah. Okay, do we have any points or motions at this point? Taylor.
Motion amendment to voting procedure.
Okay, any other points or motions? Yes.
Motion to move the voting procedure by vote of acclamation.
Since we only have a few minutes left, I'm just going to use discretion and just do normal voting procedures for this directive. Yeah. So all those in favor of moving into voting procedure. Okay, well we are now in voting procedure for this directive. All those in favor of passing the Support for Civil Rights March directive, please raise your hand. Oh, and by the way, our quorum changed. We had a delegate leave, so now we only need 12 to pass.
Did that happen during the previous vote this month? Was that?
Sorry for next session. For next session. All those opposed? All those abstained? Okay, this motion failed, or this directive fails. Sorry. Okay, do we have any points or motions at this point? Webb?
Motion to limit Q&A to 1 minute, considering that we have like 8 minutes left to get through all of this.
For the next directive that we introduced?
Yes, for the next directive.
Okay. Who's the sponsor for Develop Southern Industry? Would you like to introduce?
You can go ahead, you can introduce it.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you want to do it?
Well, are they like close to voting on the rest? Okay. So we have a crisis update.
I'm sorry. We'll start with the advocate.
Come on. So we have our all right, we get the character. I am Brigadier General Wilkerson. I'm in command of the reconnaissance, air reconnaissance and spy planes currently being operated by the United States. And I have worrying news. A U-2 spy plane over Cuba has captured several photographs that seem to suggest that Soviet missiles, nuclear missiles, are currently being deployed in Cuba, right 50 miles off the coast of Miami. And you can see in some of these pictures, we see some launch equipment on the Cuban island and the construction of missile silos. Several more pictures. This is near San Cristobal. Ignore that date. That was a misprint. And there we see more launchers and equipment. And this is a nuclear warhead bunker that is being constructed by the Soviets in Cuba. And here we have the actual launch site that the missiles will have. You can see the tanks of rocket fuel that would be used in the rockets themselves. And here we see a very large warhead storage site, a very highly secured facility with the control bunker for one of the launch sites and construction materials to build more missile silos. With that, I can take 3 questions. labor.
So considering just our safety precautions within the U.S. for missile strikes, how many bunkers or things do we have available for the population right now?
As in,
Like if there were
air raid bunkers, essentially, no, nuclear bunkers to protect. At the moment, in major metropolitan areas, we do have some bunkers. However, their capacity is extremely small compared to the actual population of those cities. So I would say less than 0.01% of the population could actually be sustained or get into those bunkers. So at the moment, the bunker system in our country really isn't that feasible. LeMay.
What is Premier Khrushchev's opinion, or what is his statement with regards to our recent discovery in Cuba?
Premier Khrushchev does not know that we made this discovery. This is extremely classified information from our spy planes that is only is being given directly from the head of the reconnaissance division to this cabinet. Therefore, it is top secret. Bundy.
Do you think we should really be worried about them, the warheads, the pictures that you have just because they're 50 miles away from Miami?
That's not my call to make. I'm just a soldier who takes orders, but I will say for myself and my family, I really don't like having those commie nukes that close to our homeland. So I'm just a soldier. I can't make recommendations to this highly educated cabinet, but I think you all know what's at stake. And that's all the questions I'll take. Thank you very much. And you guys might want to keep your notepads open break in case you figure out more ideas on what you want to do.
With that being said, are there any points or motions? LeMay.
I move to adjourn.
Well, we have to suspend. Support.
Motion is suspended.
Okay. That motion, all in favor? That motion is adjourned. See you guys back in after dinner at, I don't know.
By the way, there's a bake sale at the front of the conference, and there's also loan grants. Which they must be appropriate, but basically you can save these like 14 grams to 420 and other.
And also, don't leave your stuff in here because we're not locking it. Yeah.
So are we gonna start with this stuff?
Yes, we will. I'm sorry about that. Yeah.
Yeah, so.
Hey, Cole.
My phone out.
Just remind me.
Okay. And are we gonna vote on these stuff too, like after we come back?
When we come back, we'll turn on.
Okay.
Thank you.
We need to figure out how to make that flag secure in case you move to the laptop.
Water right here.
Thank you very much.
Wait a minute. Yeah, like, I was like, that might be a thing, we could just have a. Yeah. Yeah, I had that idea too.
These are capable of cooking.
Right.
Get it?
Yeah. And then roll this in.
She probably did. She probably gave it to somebody else because she should, like, he would have known for like a long time.
Okay, thanks.
Both of those, you could move your computer.
Oh, yeah, thank you. My computer. I don't know, I don't think we have a,
Yeah, we do.
do we? Like, right now before dinner or before we come back?
I think it's, okay.
You can go ahead.
Okay, so I talked to Alexandria and Monica. Also,
Robert,
Casey sent me an email. I mean, sorry, Whitney sent me an email. I didn't refer to herself. I didn't show you this. I didn't show you this, but she sent me and Monica this email. Hold it while I.
she can't use chair's discretion.